So let's speak about the licensing part. And it's interesting, I found a Cisco document which is publicly available, although it looks to be confidential. So from the licensing point of view of the ASA with FirePOWER services, and here I'm not speaking about the unified code, but of the FirePOWER services running as a software or hardware module on the ASA X series. So licensing wise, it's subscription based, 1 or 3 years, and you can either buy only an IPS or of course next generation IPS subscription, 1 or 3 years. You can buy URL filtering subscription, 1 or 3 years. You can buy IPS and URL. What's in the brackets is going to be basically the part number as Cisco names it. You can buy IPS and AMP, or all of them together, IPS and URL and AMP. So you cannot buy AMP by itself, and it makes sense. I mean, I imagine like if you don't do URL filtering, I mean, URL filtering is going to provide not a basic security functionality, but it's going to make sure that you don't hit the box with too much, advanced inspection by AMP, because IPS and URL filtering are going to from the beginning are going to cut down some of the malicious traffic in the network through their built-in mechanisms, and only after what passes the IPS inspection and the URL inspection, and also what passes your security policies, and also what passes the application inspection policies, which are built in, are not licensed. You don't buy them, you just get them with whatever license you buy. Then only afterwards you actually provide AMP. So it doesn't even make sense for you to buy only AMP and nothing else in there. So it makes sense that AMP cannot be bought as a standalone subscription. You have to add AMP to IPS, to URL, or to both of them. So this document that I was saying about, which is Cisco SA with FirePOWER services subscription. So if you go in here and you say, it's going to show you where to go, how to order. That's not what I'm trying to show you. Let's look at about TAMC. There we go. So as you can see, as I was saying, this is what you can buy: a subscription, only URL, only IPS, or URL with IPS, or AMP and IPS. In here, AMP and IPS, or all 3 together. And as I was saying, what's in the brackets is going to be the code used, when you order the licensing back and forth, 1 year or 3 years. And I think they state somewhere in here. Let me look it up. Should be here, yes. They state in here that ASA with FirePOWER services base configuration includes AVC function by default, so you don't pay anything for that. It is built in. So you only pay for, and of course you only pay and buy IPS subscription or URL filtering. And they said in here that in URL filtering section, they state that URL filtering license can be added alone, as they're saying, to the base Cisco SA FirePOWER services license, or as a part of a bundle with the IPS and apps, or IPS and apps and AMP licenses. So as stated above. Or of course you can go and buy AMP, but as we've seen, AMP cannot be acquired by itself, only as a added capability to IPS or URL functionality. And this document, walks you through all of the, let's say, subscription, part numbers, and ordering processes back and forth. Okay. So pretty much that was it for today. Let's see if you have any questions in the Q&A section to answer those. User asks, have you heard or seen anything regarding end of life, end of sale for the 5585 SSP60 yet? As I was saying, nothing confirmed. no rumors back and forth. But it's only my assumption that it doesn't make sense for Cisco to keep that product alive, because it is expensive to begin with. And hardware is not, and doesn't offer that much of a performance. Like for example, if you look on the, let's look on the data sheet again in here, because we forgot to look on the 5585X. Not this one, but the ASAX. Let's look about 5585. Okay, it seems I disconnected. Let me open up the URL again. And let's look for the 5585. There we go. So let's go to 5585 platforms. So the highest platform supports barely, if we can, look at it. It provides high throughput, but not as high as compared with the new hardware modules. So if you do a HTTPS, this means AVC, IPS, and for HTTPS traffic, for HTTP traffic, it's only 6 gig. Of course, HTTP 400 byte, which is clearly low packets, but still. So it's 4 gig. Again, if you compare that with the lowest FirePOWER new hardware module, which is 10 gig, it is clearly a big difference. And I don't know the prices, I don't have access to the prices, but still I'm sure that the 5585 is still a very expensive box. So as I was saying, it's only a basic assumption of myself that is not going to be supported. And something to give me a hint on that fact is that 5585X is the only old X platform which will not support the unified code yet, where Cisco has said yet at this point from till today, Cisco said that 5585X is not going to support the unified code. So for me, it is clearly a sign that they want to get rid of that old hardware module, which is expensive, and pretty much nobody probably wants to pay enough money, that amount of money for it in there. Okay, let's see a couple more questions from user. The subscription is for the updates only, also the functionality. So if you don't renew, will those features stop working? So first of all, why would you want to have the license expired? Because without the updates, then your security is now zero. You have to understand that if back in the days, leaving an endpoint with no signature updates for a couple of days could be good enough. Maybe it was lucky not to get hit by malware. Today, the speed that malware develops, it reached a a different level. It is on, I don't know, hour level, minute level, whatever. So if your intelligence is not updated, it's like you're better off to have just a cable in the network, because it's too complicated. At that point, the ASA, it's a bottleneck. It's better to have a cable in the network, replace the ASA with a cable, and that's it. Then just keep it there without being updated. But to answer your question, if the license expires, it never happened to me. But for Cisco, let's say documentation, they state that somewhere. It is that if the license expires, it means that the policies deployed, like the FirePOWER policies, are going to be ineffective. So what that means is that if you look at the diagram in here, is, for example, let's say that for whatever reason, this is my SA with FirePOWER services, and basically the licenses have expired. What that means is that my MPF configuration on the SA, which redirects traffic to the FirePOWER, the MPF policy, will be like it's not there. It's going to be ineffective, deactivated, right? So at that point, it's like traffic just flows through the ASA like to a regular ASA firewall without FirePOWER services. So traffic is not dropped, but you lose your intelligence. So it's doesn't make sense to keep the license, to expire in for any reason at all. Okay, let's see if there are any questions left out there. Is the cognitive threat analysis included in the EMP license from Neil? So the data analysis is basically performed and sold by Cisco separately. It's a service they provide to customers, which probably it's expensive. They call it, if you look it up, they call it CTA. It was available initially only for cloud web services, which is Cisco's in the cloud web proxy or the old scan safe technology. So if you look at Cisco CTA, that's how they say it now, Cisco Cognitive Threat Analytics. Now they have that option also added to the, I think, to the web security appliance. It's not added yet to the email, but it is to the web security appliance added at this point. If you look at the data sheets, there we go. Add-on license on Cisco Cloud Web Security and add-on license on the on-premises web security appliance. And of course, they also sell it as a third party for web proxying. So probably it is going to be available to more and more products, but for this point, it's only limited to specific products in there. And Cisco also have this as a service, Cisco CTA. It is Cisco, not Cognitive, but it is they name it Cisco Threat Analytics, I think. It is managed services. So they provide as a managed service active threat analytics. So what that means, you buy the service from Cisco, and basically they have, partially their team inspects the logs of your devices for you and what happened in the network, and they provide guidance on what to do, what happened, and things like that, in case you don't have a qualified internal team of experts, or you just want to feel more secure, and you buy the service from Cisco. Neil, assuming anti-malware is covered by AMP, does the DSA have an option to do antivirus? So and ASA doesn't have support for antivirus engines. I've never seen that, the FirePOWER services, but nowadays it's useless. A classic antivirus, most of the vendors of next generation firewall products, they claim that antivirus is dead. So you still have a baseline, a basic security by putting an antivirus in the place. But against the new range of attacks with unknown malware with advanced persistent threats, a antivirus engine is like, it's blind. It can never ever catch anything else. Like, for that reason, if you look it up on most antivirus vendors, the big ones, whatever that is for you, I don't know, Symantec, Sophos, McAfee, whatever, they have moved away from the classical antivirus system, and they have built in that cloud intelligence that Cisco has it, and other firewall vendors have it for the next generation firewall product. Likewise, the antivirus vendors have built some kind of cloud intelligence to be able to provide dynamic contextual malware protection to their customers. Some other vendors have integrated with the vendors that have that built in, because they realize that on the long term, antivirus is, the way it was known back in the days, is going to be useless. Pay the money for nothing. User, can you share the links you are going to? Okay, so I'm going to put those on a text file as I end the class, and I'm going to upload the text file on the shared files of the class. Terry, how are subscription renewals handled for the end user? Is there a new pack file issued, or is it the subscription and they just update it in the cloud and reflect it in the ASA with FirePOWER. So Terry, is the question based on like I'm a customer now, I have acquired licenses, they're active till 2 years later, and is the question what happens after 2 years? I actually have never done that, to be honest. I never, I'm mostly when I was doing things, I was architecting networks. But from the GUI, we're gonna look also tomorrow. It looks like you cannot update that on the fly. It looks you have to reissue the licenses, and they have to be added added in there. So it doesn't happen on the fly at this point. Okay. Okay, so if you have any other questions you have for today's class, leave those in the Q&A section, and I'm going to answer those privately today or lively tomorrow in class. So thanks for watching. See you back online tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna have a longer day. So as I was saying, we're gonna go to the installation, basic configuration steps of both FirePOWER, Fireside, do some basic configurations with the FirePOWER on the FirePOWER, send some traffic to the SA, and look at look in there what happens from the basic point of view. All of the features of the FirePOWER are going to be discussed in greater detail. All of them in the second class in the advanced section. Thanks for watching, for staying online. Have a good night and build knowledge, and see you tomorrow again. User said, sorry, we got pulled away. Did you answer the 5585 question? Yes, I did. I was saying that because the 5585X platform is the only one which at this point Cisco stated it's not going to support the unified code, and being the fact that it's a very old product, it's expensive, it doesn't have that big of a performance, it is just my assumption that Cisco it is going to phase it out at some point. But again, I have no confirmation, no rumors. It's just a personal, logic based on how based on how things evolved, and based on how it looks like Cisco is going to leave that ASA behind. Is going to just forget about it.